Alright guys, so today what I'm going to do is walk you through how to do a practice quiz. Now my numbers are going to be different from yours, but the process is going to be the same. Alright? So let's go through and try this out. What I want you to do is before I just go do it for you, I want you to try to guess how you do this. So here's question 1. And it tells you what the amplitude is, it tells you what the period is, and it tells you what the vertical shift is. I want you to think, how would we plug that in to an equation? So everyone needs scratch paper out. If you don't have scratch paper, get it out. And I'm going to give you a minute head start to try to figure this out, okay?
The problem is that I'm way too blind to see those numbers.
You can move closer, Mindy.
No, that's cheating.
I'm going to have to move this. What is going on? I'm just charging it so it doesn't die. Whatever. Can't wait. Okay, so tell me what you thought on this one. So Jake, tell me one of them. Yeah, like so amplitude is 5. Where would I plug that in? Okay, so the A is 5. So I'm going to erase our example from earlier. So I know it's going to look like y equals 5 because the amplitude goes first. Okay. Then it's going to be, if they want this to be a sine function, even though it says cosine here, they want it to be a sine, okay? So I'm going to have 5 sine. So then the next question is going to be, what is b? What did you do there, Eleanor?
Pi half.
Well, that's what the period is pi halves. How do you get b? Jade wants to take it again. Go, Jade. Let's think of that. How did you get that? Tell me your thought process. Yeah, so the period is pi over 2. So I'm going to replace period with pi over 2.
Yeah.
So how did you figure it out?
So then
So I'll switch here and switch here. So this is b is 2 pi divided by pi halves. So if we keep change flip, what we end up getting is that's 2 pi times 2 over pi. The pi's cancel and that gives me 4. Now that's a great way of doing it. Can I show you maybe a shortcut? Come back to this. How do I get from pi to 2 pi? What do you do?
Times it by 2.
How would I get from 2 times 2? So b is 4. Do you see how that's a little bit faster there? Okay, cool. So what that tells me is that b is going to be 4. And then lastly, if I have a vertical of shift of 2, what do I just put at the end here? Add 2. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to type that in and see if that gives us full points. So I've got y is equal to, notice it already has a y equals, I do 5 sine 4x plus 2.
Be like,
You put equal to.
incorrect.
Oh, I meant plus 2.
See? It says incorrect.
Well, let's check. Uh-oh, it doesn't like
Incorrect.
something there.
This is what always happens to me on my test folder. I take the
Okay. Let me back the phone up a little bit. The only thing wrong with it was it's supposed to be a cosine.
Well, it says sine and then it gives us
You
cosine.
said cosine. I put in cosine. I erased this 2 times now.
Oh, I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, it's
Now let
cosine.
me clarify on here. When it says a sine function can be sine or cosine. So when they said do cosine, that's what they're meaning, okay?
yeah.
But did that change our amplitude, the period, or the midline?
No.
So it's
It
just
just
the
made
one.
you get it wrong on the
But
test.
you guys, I think you get like, I think it's 3 chances.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh,
But
to
like
retake
on here,
the
so
quiz?
I got it wrong the first time, but then I went and I changed it and it accepted it. So it gives
You
you
can change it?
multiple chances. I
So it
think it's
looks
either
just
2 or
like
3.
this?
So don't go through and do it a million times, just do it a couple, okay?
I'm like typing in every number. I'm like, eventually I'll do every single
That's what people
possible
think, but that's why
solution.
I think it's only 3. It might be 2, but we'll find out here. Okay, so now let's do this other one. We can do this one maybe a little bit faster now that we've got it, okay? This time it wants it to be a sine, because it says sine right there, okay? Now, amplitude is 4. What does that mean?
Sine.
A is 4. That was easy. Vertical shift is 3.6. That's what D is, right? I'm just going to put 3.6 there. That's easy. But the one that's a little bit trickier is the period is 4 pi. Now,
4.5.
yeah, there we go. So hold on. But everyone but Eleanor, let's think on this one.
Wow.
What is a period normally? 2 pi. So this is going in slower. How much slower is it going?
2 times as slow.
Or in other words, half as slow, right? So it's going through half as slow, so B is going to be 1/2. Well, how do I know that? Let's
half
try to.
as fast.
It's going half as fast, so
Yeah.
B is 1/2. Now, let's look at our formula. Period is 2 pi over B. But our period here is going to be 4 pi. So if I look at this as 4 pi over 1 is equal to 2 pi over B. How do you get from 4 pi to 2 pi?
You times by, divide by, you times by 1/2.
How do I get from 1, and what's 1 divided by 1/2?
0.
No. Half of 1 is
1.
1/2, right?
Sorry.
So, in my mind, I'm just thinking to go from 4 pi to 2 pi, I divide by 2, so 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. If that doesn't make sense to you, then switch places with the B and the 4 pi, and I get B is 2 pi over 4 pi, which reduces to
And then you just cancel everything.
1/2.
Just cross out all the numbers.
So when I go to put in my equation here,
Put it in right this time.
I'll try my best. So I'm going to put in amplitude is 4, and it says sine. The B is going to be 1/2. Now there's 2 ways you could do this. I could write this as 1/2 times x, or I could just do the x divided by 2. Then the 3.6, it was just a vertical shift, so I'm going to put it like that.
Will both
I'm going
be
to
correct?
check, is that good?
No, I
Let-
didn't like it.
Let's see. It still likes it. And whether you do 0.5 or 1/2, it still
What
likes
if, what if you do the x half?
Let's try it. If I do, I don't know if it will accept it once it's right, but let's try it. If I do, oh yeah, it won't let me submit it. Okay, now that's that style of question. Does that make sense how you're going to do that on your own? The thing that's a little tricky on that is everything has to be right. So even if you got the amplitude and the vertical shift right, if you don't do the period right, it marks the whole thing wrong. So just make sure you're careful on that. Okay, I'm going to ask Emily, will you read that one? The graph of the periodic function.
The graph of the periodic function is maximum y times 4 times minimum value y value at 0.74 determined in the graph.
So what is it wanting here? Is it wanting the whole sine equation?
No.
Just wants what?
The I
The
don't know.
midline.
The midline, yes.
All they did is they said, okay, I put a point at 4, 9. Here's a point at 4, 9. And that was our highest point. And then we went and did a point at 10, 4. So I came over here, and this is a point 10, 4. That was our minimum point. So it doesn't show you the graph, but basically it would look something like this. And it says, okay, there's your graph. Where's the middle? So here's the middle. which values here are you focusing on?
The Y.
The y's, because we're looking at the heights here. What is our maximum height?
9.
What's the minimum height?
4.
What's the distance between 9 and 4?
13.
It's 5, right?
Wait,
So the distance between here and here is going to be a total of 5, right? 9 minus 4 is 5. So what does that mean? What is halfway between 9 and 4? I think the way Mindy was doing was actually a little bit easier here. Both ways work. Okay, how do I find the halfway spot between 9 and 4? You add them together,
Yeah, I'm just one step ahead of you.
and then divide it by 2. That gives me 13 over 2, which is 6.5.
I was like 5. I was like 9 plus 4 is 5.
So now, the way I was going to do this was just say half of 5 is 2.5, so let's go 2.5 down or 2.5 up. It would still give us 6.5, right? So all I'm going to do on that one is I'm going to put in 6.5.
And it will be correct.
Boom. Okay? I'm going to check the answer on that one. Cool. But maybe don't push check answer until you get all
answer
3
them
put in,
all.
okay? Because I don't want it to like say, oh, you didn't put anything in. Okay. Louise, read the second part.
The graph of a different periodic function has a maximum y value at the point 5 and 6, and the mid-y is y equals negative 3. Determine the minimum y value of the function.
Okay, notice it said a different graph, so that means this one is gone. But it's going to give me what? The first point is the maximum. So I'm going to have this point right here, which is 5, 6, and that is going to be my maximum value is 6.
Midline,
Now the midline is all the way down here at negative 3. So it wants to know the minimum y value. Alright, well let's just talk about the amplitude here. What's the distance between 6 and negative 3?
4, isn't it negative 4?
3.
Okay. The distance between that?
Good. Well, if you think,
9.
yeah, because right here, if this is the x-axis, from 6 to 0 is 6, right?
Oh, it would be 9.
But then I need to go 3 more, so this total distance there is 9, right?
So that means it'd be 9 on the other one, so
So here we're going to go 9
It's
down.
negative 12.
Negative 3 minus 9, yep, our minimum value is going to be negative 12. Because they gave us the max, they gave us a midline, distance here is 9, that means we go 9 below, so negative 3 minus 9 is negative 12. Let's check that real quick. Negative 12, and check, boom, negative 12. Okay, pretty cool, right? Isaac, will you take that bottom one?
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
The graph of a different periodic function has a minimum value, y value at the point negative 10, negative 8, and a maximum y value at point 5, negative 7. What is the amplitude of the function?
Okay, so what did they give us here, Isaac?
They give us 2 different points.
Yeah, so negative 10, negative 8, that was a maximum, right? Even though it's pretty low. What was the minimum?
5, negative 7.
So this is a point.
you flipped them.
Oh, that was a minimum, I'm sorry. So I'm going to have to reach up higher and get that. So then over here at 5,
Or you can bring that one down.
That would require erasing.
this is going to be my max. So our maximum y value is negative 7, and our minimum y value is negative 8. So what is halfway between negative 7 and negative 8?
Negative 7.5.
6. No,
Oh.
negative 7.5.
It's negative 7 and a
I
half,
thought
right?
it was 6 and I was like,
Because
what?
these are only one away,
I was
so
thinking weird, okay.
hold on, halfway between each of these, okay? So then, how far is it from our midline to the maximum, and from our midline to the minimum? It should be the same,
What? Huh?
0.5 or 0.5. Let's check that. Boom, check answers, got all those points, cool. How are you guys feeling so far? Is this helpful?
Yes.
Yes.
I hope it's helpful. If it's not, please ask a question. Okay, now notice on this one, it doesn't give you the graph, it just gives you some key points. It kind of gave you a chart, kind of like what we saw with the month and the average low temperature of those cities we were looking at last time. So here is kind of some dots, and it's going to say, hey, based off that, let's try to estimate some things here, okay? What is the approximate period, amplitude, midline, and let's write it all out. Give that there, okay? Okay, so I'm going to pause and I'm going to have you turn to your neighbor. And looking at this, I want you to give, notice it says approximate, not exact, but approximate, amplitude, period, and then midline. Okay? Talk to your neighbors. Go.
All these numbers are very small.
Yeah, the previous picture. So around
David, tell me something on this one. Yeah, do you guys think so? It looks like the midline's right about 0. It goes up to 2, down to -2. So that takes care of 2 of them. Cool. Oscar, what about the period? How long did it take to go through one? Are you trying to answer or you have a question? Okay, well, I'm asking Oscar on this one. About 8, right? If I start here at 0, then it finishes in 8. Let's check those real quick. So, if I'm going to do this, approximate period is 8. Check that. Boom. Amplitude is about 2. Yep. And the midline looked like 0. So if I put that all together, f of x is equal to 2 sine of... Now the question is, what do we let b
Is this sine?
be?
Go scroll back up. I don't remember.
Pi force.
Because remember, we're going to say period is 2 pi over b, and the period is 8, according to what Oscar just told us. So we're going to switch spots with b and 8. So b is 2 pi over 8, which reduces 2 pi fourths. Good job, Ellen. So I'm going to put that in here. That is going to be pi over 4. And notice there's a pi button.
Or if you
And
do
then-
pi, it'll autocorrect pi.
And then we have to, do we have to shift it at all?
No.
Nope.
Yes. Go look at it. I don't know. I can't see the graph.
Boom.
Okay.
We got,
it's
it was
fine.
right at 0, so we are good. We got all of our points. Yes. Okay. There's going to be one more. Hang in there
I
with
don't
me.
like this.
Ferris wheels. So fun to talk about. Will you read this one for us, Eleanor?
Ferris wheel has a radius of 10 feet and its center is 13 feet above the ground. A rider gets on a chair of the Ferris wheel at a full revolution of 40.
Okay.
That's a graph of the height of the rider.
So before you try to graph it on there, graph it on your paper. So let's talk about it. So what is the highest, what does it tell us? The Ferris wheel has a radius of 10.
And the center is
Center's 13 feet. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, here's 13, that's the center. So how high up does it go? 10 feet above that, so that's 23, right? Yeah? You guys, I need some feedback from you. Then from the center of 13, we go 10 down. What does that take us to?
4, 3.
13 minus 10 is 3. All right, good. So these people, they're going to go onto this Ferris wheel. We're going to assume it's loaded at the lowest point. And it's going to go up and then down, and we're done. How long did that take them to go through one ride? 42 seconds. Okay, now what we need to do is we're going to try graphing this, but then we're also going to try to fill in some key information about it. When you graph this, you need to know the high point and the low point. So this point right here, that's pretty easy. That's a point 0.03, right? At time 0, when you first get on it, you're 3 feet above the ground. But then if the whole ride is 42 seconds, at what point are you at the top?
Half of 42.
At 42, which is
21.
21. And what is the maximum height?
23.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do to graph this. Let me show you how this works.
This one is only 42 seconds.
Notice there's 2 options here, okay? This first one, it has you pick a high and a low. This one has you pick a center and a high. So I'm going to do the high and the low, okay? So I click on that one, and I'm going to start at 0.3, and that's where we first get on. And then we said 21 seconds later, we're going to be at the maximum height, which is 23. So I'm going to be in between right here, but this is a point 21 and 23.
Where is
The
this Ferris
cosine
wheel?
function too.
Okay, now, this is going to say write a cosine function. Okay, before we do, I'm going to come over to the side and kind of write out everything we need to know about it. This is just a made-up Ferris wheel. Because,
Oh, it just goes like Mach speed, like 42 seconds per.
well, it's not very high, like 20 feet off the ground, not too impressive. Okay, okay,
Zoom,
hold on real
zoom.
quick. What is our amplitude here? Looking at our data.
10.
Do you guys see how it's a 10? That's how much goes up and down,
Yes.
so the amplitude is 10. Now the period is 42.
Yes.
However, what we want to know is what will B be. So I say
Pi
42 is 2
21.
pi over B.
2 pi over 42.
Switch spots. Good job. It's 2 pi over 42, which is pi over 21. Now this said, let's actually just do this as a cosine. We like cosine because it starts at its max. Well, this one doesn't start at its max. It starts at its minimum. So what are we going to have to do?
Negative.
Flip it. So we're going to flip it.
How do we flip the graph? Oh, it's already flipped.
Now,
Never mind.
lastly, what is the midline? We already said it's centered at 13. So our midline, which I usually use the letter K, they've been using D, but either way is good. The midline is 13. Let's put all of that together, and what we're going to get is we had to flip this over for a negative, so it's a negative cosine. The amplitude is 10.
Cosine.
Then on the inside, we had to do, what did we say, pi over 21?
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a fraction. It has a button for pi right there, pi over 21. Don't forget to put an x in there. You need a variable.
Plus
I thought you needed to use the length.
Plus 13. Let's check my math here.
You only used one of the graph buttons.
No, I used to.
Oh.
Check answer. Boom, I just got 6 out of 6 on this quiz.
Nuh-uh, you got the first one wrong.
But I had multiple attempts. It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes.
Uh-huh. My paper is abused by my